video is brought to you by Bezel 333.
Hello, Bezel 333. Just who is America fighting in Afghanistan? Well, basically, we're fighting individuals who are collectively known as the Taliban. The Taliban is an alternative government whose Islamic ideology uses strict Sharia law, which prohibits the following: movies, television, videos, music, dancing, kite flying, alcohol, computers, the list goes on and on. Pretty much everything America takes for granted. So when President Obama declares,
"The United States is not and will never be at war with Islam," which is why our next story is provoking so much controversy.
then my question to the president is, just who are we at war with?
Martin, to prevent the suspicion, the United States is conducting a Christian crusade against Muslims. Members of the U.S. military in Iraq and Afghanistan are strictly prohibited from proselytizing, promoting any religion, faith, or practice. It's called General Order Number 1.
Now, General Order Number 1 is a 4-page document listing various prohibited activities of U.S. soldiers. It comes right after adopting pets as mascots. Now, I understand proselytizing as an attempt to convert people to another opinion and particularly another religion.
But apparently, one of the Pentagon's big suppliers never got the memo. Some soldiers call them Jesus rifles. That's because the sights on their guns, including this one used to train soldiers in Iraq, contain a secret coded reference to New Testament passages about Jesus Christ. Here, JN 8:12, a reference to the book of John, chapter 8, verse 12, which reads in part, "Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world."
Now, my question is this: is the letter and number sequence with a punctuation mark sandwiched in the middle, JN8:12, at the end of the model number of an optical rifle sight the size of a peanut, an overt attempt to convert the U.S. military and the Muslim world to Christianity? That's the charge from the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, headed by Mikey Weinstein, who called it an unconstitutional disgrace of the highest magnitude.
Michael Weinstein runs the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, which claims thousands of members in the U.S. military who he says are endangered by the secret Bible codes.
It's a big deal. We've had many soldiers reach out to us. Some are oblivious, but many others, and the thousands are well aware that it's there. They've described it as a sick and a very scary joke, and that it allows the Mujahideen, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, the insurrectionists, and jihadists to be claiming that they're being shot by Jesus rifles.
Other sites have references to the New Testament books of Matthew, Revelation, and Corinthians, such as this scope used by Special Forces, encoded with another reference to a verse about the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ.
We're training the Iraqis and the Afghans, the members of the military, on these very same weapons. They're training on weapons with biblical references from the New Testament on there. It's unbelievable. This is how we're going to win friends.
The Trigicon Company, whose founder, Glenn Bindon, now deceased, was a Christian, and apparently his company makes some darn good rifle sights. He began the policy of including special letter number sequences at the end of model numbers of the sights he manufactured almost 20 years ago. They are not complete verse references, and certainly not the entire verses of the Bible references. Again, I want to ask, is this really overtly promoting Christianity? Now keep in mind that a rifle sight is a bolt-on subcomponent of the rifle. It's not the rifle itself, but that's beside the point. And of course, once the atheist community got wind of this information, they needed to chime in as well. Here are some clips from an atheist radio program called Free Thought Radio.
Of Rifles for Jesus. They uncovered a more than 20-year practice by a military supplier, a practice of inscribing New Testament passages of Jesus on high-powered rifle sights.
Okay, that's incorrect right there. They're not even complete references to Bible passages on the scope. Remember, they're the size of a peanut.
No. There's absolutely nothing more this country could possibly be doing to act as a further accelerant or lubricant for already pissed off and angry young Islamic men and women in Jordan, Morocco, Libya, Syria, Egypt, who want to come and join the cause of the the insurrectionists, the jihadists, the mujahideen, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or whatever. And this looks exactly like a crusade. And in fact, we've stopped.
It is a crusade.
Think for a second of the field day, if you will, that Mike Huckabee, Sarah Palin, all the haters out there, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, would be doing if it turned out that we were contracting with another company in Michigan, because this company, Trijicon, is in Michigan, and there's a large Islamic population in Dearborn. Let's say it was located there, an American Muslim population, and they were putting citations to the Quran on the rifle.
Speaking of atheists, I'd like to present some words of wisdom from one of YouTube's atheist golden boys, Pat Condell, who normally I don't agree with very often, but here makes some important points from a video called Wake Up America. Pat is warning that what is happening today in Europe is coming soon to America.
Ever since the Islamic countries demanded that Western governments make it a crime to criticize Islam, all over Europe, blasphemy laws and religious insult laws are being used to criminalize freedom of speech. As long as America's First Amendment remains inviolate, there will always be an oasis of freedom on this planet that Islam cannot touch. But as soon as anyone is allowed to interfere with it, to water it down, to reinterpret, to chip and chisel away at the First Amendment for reasons of religious or cultural sensitivity, then we can wave our civilization goodbye.
See, the First Amendment cuts both ways. It protects separation of church and state, but it also ensures freedom of expression of ideas, even, I believe, to the creative use of letters and numbers in a model number of a gun sight. There's also a little document called the United Nations International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which states in Article 19 that everyone shall have the right of freedom of expression, regardless of frontiers, either orally, in writing or in print, in the form of art, or through any other media of his choice. Here's a couple thoughts as we end this video. The letters and numbers at the end of the model designation have no power in and of themselves. They are simply one man's way of expressing an idea that is important to him on a product he manufactures. It does not make the rifle the scope sits on any more Christian than the In-N-Out burger wrapper makes the burger inside it a Christian burger. Secondly, the U.S. military should be purchasing the best equipment for our soldiers who are in harm's way, no matter who manufactures them. I, for one, would have no problem with our military using scopes made by a devout Hindu who placed references to the Bhagavad Gita like VY1:28, the VY standing for Visada Yoga. I could care less as long as they were the most accurate, rugged, and reliable scopes out there. And three, radical Islam hates America and all that it stands for. They didn't attack the towers and the Pentagon because of verse references on rifle sights. You know, the fact is we're becoming a nation of whiners and crybabies. In the overall big picture, this is about as important as complaining about Starbucks having a quote on their coffee cups that promotes homosexuality. We need to grow up and major on the things happening in this world that are major. I'll leave you with the words of my favorite atheist YouTuber, Pat Condell.
Remember the words of Mr. Omar Ahmed, co-founder of the Council on American Islamic Relations, who said that Islam is not in America to be equal to other faiths, but to become dominant, and that the Quran should be the highest authority in America. That would be higher than the Constitution then, by my reckoning.